we lost. We are lost on our way to the Samas, and I think the crux of my story is that we're lost. Like, no, we're lost. Hi. We're lost. And we're running out of, like, you know when you see a BP, you say, okay, I'm familiar. I'm running out of them to count. But yeah, Godspeed to us, hey? Sure.
First person that I've ever spoken to who feels the way she feels. Yeah, let me finish.
About? Oh, yikes.
About the future. Even you. Like, I'm glad, baby. I'm glad. She's not dating anyone. You're not dating anyone. I feel like that too. Like, I'd rather have. Are you dating each other? No, I'm wish you were, but no. Fuck having a nigga. You can't even go to someone's because your man's like, what's you gonna work? Don't show to my Stevens. Not that shit.
I am literally waiting for everyone to find me. And it's a bit awkward because the red carpet was supposed to start at 5. Some artists think it starts at 6. Others think it starts at 7, but it closes at 7, and I can't find anyone for my team, so wish me luck. Okay, so I'm just gonna jump right into this. I haven't filmed in months. Like you guys saw before, I tried to vlog at the Samas, and then everything just got crazy, so I'm going out tonight. I'm gonna just film this now so that I stop like delaying it, okay? So to start, in the morning, like leading up to the Samas, firstly, there's no indication of like where I'm sleeping or whether or not I should stay in Sun City for like a prolonged period of time or like the duration of the show. So eventually we get everything sorted out. I'm gonna crash with Red, as you guys saw, we were together. And then what happened? And like, yeah, we were gonna crash together and it wasn't gonna be a problem. Then we get on the road and it's nice at first, like don't get me wrong, but eventually like we get lost. And that's what you guys saw. Like finally we do find where we're going. Oh no, my Fenty's finishing. Finally we do find where we're supposed to be going, and you know, things kind of start to improve slowly. I have to do my makeup just like on the fly, and it was just mad. It was just really crazy. So, you know, I have to be really extra about this because I need foundation and I'm not ashamed. So then I get ready and then I arrive, and me and Red split up at this time because we have different objectives. We're also working for different people. So there's no need for us to be like joined at the hip the same way that we are when we do Festival Politicos. So that happens, I get there, I can't find anybody, and my team is shooting for another group in like hip hop, so I also can't like bother them. And eventually I make my way to where the like general location of where everything is supposed to happen. So I'm at this restaurant at Sun City at the hotel, and that's where I run into Gigi the main and her team, are like, you know, and her maids and stuff. And then what happens? I still don't know what's going on. But what's also very clear, or becoming clear, is that not even the talent knows what's going on. So I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I'll wait. So I wait, eventually then make it to the red carpet. Now what was wild about the red carpet, for those that don't know, you can choose to not do the red carpet. You can choose to not walk, and there are some artists that do that. There are some artists that, you know, don't want to be subject to that kind of judgment, don't want to do pre-press, and there's no carpet afterwards, or like, you can, yeah, there's no carpet afterwards, but you can kind of do backstage press. So eventually, I've collected my tickets by this time, have all my accreditation, and then I go forward. Now this is where things get tricky. So, first of all, the place where they have me sitting is so far away from the television, and there's no Wi-Fi, there's no network, there's nothing. Like, it's just really frustrating. So then I'm like, no, rather not. I'm gonna rather move backstage. I find out then I don't have backstage access. So I was like, what do you mean? because if you get backstage access, then you can like, you know, do the interview with whoever just comes off of the stage, or, you know, anything of that nature, pretty much, like, just to make it simple. And there was none of that, so I have to finesse and hustle backstage passes. Okay, cool, I do that. And then, what happens? I get backstage. It's this like long, tedious process. And I won't lie, like it actually was really tedious. I was really bored at some point and just like over things. I'm gonna do 2 layers of foundation because I went full face tonight. So yeah, then I finally get backstage, but I'm just like really irritated at this point because there's minimal information. Granted, the one person on the Sana's team that I was dealing with was as vocal or communicative as she could be, but like, I just felt like there were so many gray areas, and getting any job or getting any work done was just frustrating because it was like, first there's no Wi-Fi, then there's, you know, minimal network, then, you know, like I can't get to the areas that I need to get to. I can't be backstage. I have to go fetch accreditation again, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, you know what, I'm over this, but I still have a job to do, so I go. Eventually, I make it backstage. Things are smoother from there, I'll admit. Like, it's so much easier to get stuff done from back there. The Wi-Fi happened to be working back there in particular, so it was actually really good that I went backstage instead of trying to force staying where I was sitting or just watching the show or whatever. And, you know, whenever anybody won something, then, you know, you catch them backstage. I think for me, my most memorable interviews had to be with Trezor, Shoma Josie, and who else? And Strava. So with Trezor, I had literally, like when I started working at Slickground Live, I didn't obviously know anything. Like I didn't know how anything worked. I didn't know what was what. I didn't know how to post the way that they wanted things posted. Like I just didn't know. And one of the first like big songs that I had to publish was AKA's feature on Trezor's song Electric Nights. And it was just so like, it was such a cute song, and I remember thinking to myself initially, I don't like the song, it's not really great. And then I found myself like humming it on the way home, and that's when I knew that it was a fire track. So he was cool because he also like, first of all, he looked amazing. Secondly, he's got this, I don't know what to call it, but he's got this like very militant look going on with like the style of dress, all black all the time, the very, very particular haircut, you know, so he looked good. He looked really, really good. I have to give him props there. Yeah, what else? Shoma Josie was probably my favorite because it was Shoma Josie. Like, I don't want to tell a lie. I just love Maya. Like, she's amazing. And the fact that she was nominated as many times as she was, the fact that she's such a new artist, the fact that she really didn't she didn't come in trying to be anybody else. She didn't, you know, she's just been unapologetically herself. And like on top of just being herself, she has just this like vibe and this energy, and it's just really great. Like being around her is really cool, especially in that space, and especially if you're a fan. So she wins her things, what have you. And also sidebar, a lot of people had a lot of stuff to say about the fact that she shouted out her ex-boyfriend who did her dirty or whatever, and then the fact that she used that, like, she spoke on that at her moment, where, like, you know, her moment to shine or whatever the case, or however people are putting it. And my whole thing with that was like, it didn't seem outlandish or weird to me. She made a whole entire song about how this Jed played her for a fool, and then that song that album that song was on wins big, and the song was like, why wouldn't she mention, of all the places, why wouldn't she mention it? And like, yeah, I'm sure you feel a little ways about it, like, and you know what, a lot of people also comment that whole thing of like, if you're still thinking about him after you've broken up, then, you know, you're not over it. Nah, I'm over it, but that doesn't mean that, like, I can't comment on what happened in the past and things like that. Like, I don't know. I felt like everyone had a lot of opinions on how she needed to treat her breakup, and it was like she made a fire song on the strength of her breakup and the strength of her pin. Don't see the problem. So yeah, her, and then Strava was another good one, because like that one was just nostalgic for me, because when I first started at Slicker on Life, I have to look away from the camera now and just do my brows. When I first started at Slicker on Life, there was no cover series. There was no like monthly cover or anything like that. And because it was one, so new to them and new to me as well, there have been hiccups and bumps in the road and, you know, things like that since then. The first cover that I had was, you know, Strava, and it was off of like just after Mkele, his album, his most recent album, debuted. And when I met him, I was just like, I don't know. And also, again, this is, I think, he was the biggest artist I'd interviewed. Actually, let me think. Yeah, he was the biggest artist that I'd ever, you know, had to deal with or communicate with or interview. And I didn't know a lot about him, I will admit. Like, I listened to Umkele, and that was the first song, the first body of work of his that I'd ever like paid full attention to. So yeah, I lost like so much footage, so I'm just gonna go through some of the things that I said again while I finish up what's left of my face. But like, yeah, so that was Strava with regards to like my sentiments about the whole thing. It was just really nostalgic, like seeing him win, seeing him do well, amazing stuff, truly, truly, honestly. Now, moving on to the actual show and the production of the show and the production value of the show. One thing that like stood out all the time was that it always felt like a G-rated Disney movie, but a bad Disney, so not a Disney movie. I'm not gonna say whose movie because that's rude, you know, but like, it just felt like a bad animation. Like, you could tell that they were trying to make sure that nothing was very explicit or anything like that, but like, it just didn't relate to me, because you know, the Samas are supposed to be like the Grammys in terms of the prestige, in terms of, you know, the value for the artist, and then it just seems like it's just this banana, like it's just a banana republic, like it's just, no. It did not strike me as glamorous, it did not strike me as like celebratory of all genres. And actually that brings me to genres. So the Samas have a nomination ceremony party, and then they have the actual ceremony. Okay, cool, I went to both. Now, what struck me as superbly odd and low-key downright outrageous was that there's an entire category in every genre. So let's say there's best pop album, then there's best pop album, which is Afrikaans for best pop album. And when I first saw what they were doing, I was flabbergasted, I won't tell a lie. Like, I was truly outraged, first of all. I was just like, why? Like, why a whole other genre? Like, literally, because if we're keeping it a buck, there are artists that make, you know, genres of music in languages that are not Afrikaans, for instance, but not necessarily as big as your languages like Zulu or Xhosa or Setswana or Sesotho, right? They make, like Tonga, for instance. There aren't a whole gang of artists making Tonga music. So would it then be fair to be like, okay, cool, for the genres that don't have a lot of participants, we're gonna give them their own category? Like, that just struck me as odd, and I really didn't like it. Like, can't tell a lie, I didn't like it, and it struck me as just very about-date. It reminded me of my time in Stellenbosch. No, I wasn't here for it, I'm not gonna be here for it. I think it was just, I don't know how long that thing can happen, but I'm not here for it personally. Just gluing my lashes. And my lashes look like struggle right now because I'm stacking two of them together and I'm waiting to get new lashes. But yeah, that was that. And then what else did I notice? Oh, okay. So this is another thing that struck me as, I don't want to say odd or unacceptable, but as like not cool. So unfortunately, Double HP passed rather untimeously, and I shouldn't say that, but no one passes at a good time. But his death was just shocking because one, he was young, and two, there are reports that it was, it was apparently suicide. And so based on that alone, you almost expect an award show to really like go all out and have some kind of tribute, because in the hip hop game at least, like hip hop has lost quite a number of its big dogs, or the people that started, making hip hop cool in South Africa. So you would almost expect that, and then it didn't happen, and then it was just like, okay. Instead of the honoring that I believe he deserves, he's instead nominated in the hip hop category. And that to me was just it was just number one mistake. Like, there was no need. And I'm saying that not because his album might have been bad or good or whatever you feel about it, but like, in comparison to some of the albums that I personally know were submitted, putting his album in over theirs suggests that he was put in on the strength of his passing and not his work in comparison to his peers. It would have been so much better to really just do a hip hop, a tribute to all of, and include all of the artists that he's worked with over the years, some of the artists that he broke, but I just feel like they went the easy route by just, saying, okay, cool, we're gonna nominate his project. Like, no. It just was lazy to me. And then, on top of that, because you've nominated, you've given away a slot, there's like even less slots for the artists that are still operating to actually have their moment in. Which was just wasn't grand. Wasn't a grand thing to do, in my opinion. Like, it wasn't necessary. They didn't have to do things like that. But they made their choice, so we must all just accept. But yeah, there was that. Ooh. The struggle. And then that also brings me to like prestige of the Samas, and not necessarily relevancy, but prestige. So there's, since the Samas, obviously, because the Samas have long come and gone, and everybody's had their say and made their comments about, are they still relevant, what should people do, how do you do X, Y, and Z, etc. Like, if there's one thing I'm seeing consistently, or hearing consistently from other gatekeepers, from other gatekeepers, from other participants in the industry, like, there's apparently a spirit of also not submitting, right? So, in order to be nominated, you have to submit, right? Okay, cool. We know this about the Grammys, we know this about everything. You've gotta submit. Now, if you don't submit, you will not be recognized or considered even. Like, nothing that you do will be up for consideration. Rightfully so, because you're behind to not submit. Now, when that happens, you don't have the right to be like, they don't recognize me. Like, nah, dude. You didn't recognize yourself. You didn't put your music out there for them. What's a girl to do? Literally, that would be my response. Like, what did you expect them to do? To sniff out your album, find all the credits, listen and be like, okay, cool, now it's their time to shine. Like, no, gent, please grow up. And in fact, that little two-liner, grow up, is what I feel like I say regarding this industry and regarding like South Africa more times than I wish, because it really just feels like we have just this infantile industry that's, and granted, the country itself is only in its 20s, which adversely means that there are elements of our industries, etc., that are only like open to everybody, or only have been open to everybody at this capacity or at this level for the past 20 odd years. And that's a fair analysis. But like, there's an entire United States where artists have already done the like nitty gritty, hard work the first time with no guide. With that in mind, there's so much information that is available and you're just not going after it. Like, that's the thing that I don't understand. And that's something that I also saw again at the Samas. I was like, there's a system, there's a way, there's a whatever. Like, and I'm just seeing rookie mistakes and rookie errors from grown folk that operate in, you know, positions of power. And you sit there and you're like, the guys that are getting screwed over, or the girls that are getting screwed over, are just like trying to be artists and trying to follow this passion against all better judgment. You know, like, that was what was really just disappointing, to see the fact that, you know, I know for a fact that one artist was at the Samas, performing at the Samas, and then quickly like drove somewhere else for another gig. Like, that to me is just trash. Like, after you've performed on the Samas, you know, won awards for your work, you couldn't pay me to go and do anything but to maybe go to the spa. And the fact that like they had to go and continue pushing, like, that's just you hate to see this kind of thing, really. And then that's where I'm gonna leave that rant because I can feel myself getting worked up again. Oh, the slush does not like me. Maybe. Okay, a little bit more highlight, and then I think I'm done. But yeah, that was the Samas, man. Like, so eventually, like I said, the show ends and all of that jazz, and then unfortunately my friend Red, like, her camera's misplaced, her camera's stolen, and the night is kind of just like, oh, tense. So thankfully my colleagues were still there, and I ended up just like crashing by them, stayed up, watched movies. It was just like, it was as if it was like friends, like all kind of at Sun City for a weekend. And I've never really been like a Sun City person. I think the last time before the Samas I'd been was when I was still living with my family in Pretoria. That was the last time I'd been to Sun City, and it was nice. Like, I literally have to rush out the door right now, but that was what I thought about the Samas. This is what I look like. I don't like the slash myself personally, but we're here now and it's time to go, so alas. But anyway, enjoy, thanks for watching. Post down below, subscribe if you want to, comment, let me know what you actually want to see. It was really cool getting in front of the camera again, but like, I have to go. Bye guys.